You can use an equation to represent a function. The input, or the independent variable, represents the x value, and the output, or the dependent variable, represents the y value. So think about what that means and how you can kind of remember that. So the input is the thing that you start with. It doesn't depend on anything else. It's completely on its own. Okay, and since input starts with in and independent starts with in, you know that those are the same. So the input is the independent variable. The output is your dependent variable, and that depends on what you input, right? So you're not going to get anything out until you put something in. So that's always going to be your y value. So your in comes before your out, your independent comes before your dependent, or your x comes before your y. So an equation expresses the dependent variable in terms of the independent variable. So an equation basically shows how how you get the dependent variable, how you get your y based on your independent variable. Let's look at example 1. Write an equation to represent the function shown in the table. So if you look at that input-output table, similar to what we've seen in previous lessons, okay, you're going to try and look for the relationship between the input and the output. How do you get from one to the other, right? So how do I get from 1 to 9, from 2 to 18, from 3 to 27, and so on, okay? You can take a look and you can probably see that to get from one to the other, from my x to my y, I'm going to multiply by 9. So that's going to be my rule here, to multiply by 9. You can also see what they show you here, and this might be a helpful tool. Okay, although I'm not looking at the relationship just at my y's, like I'm not looking this way, that can help give you a clue as to what is happening here. So you can see that each time your y value increases by 9, and they show that here, plus 9, plus 9, plus 9, plus 9, and so on. So since it's increasing by 9, these are all multiples of 9 as your y values, okay, which means that your x had to be multiplied by 9 in order to get them, since those are all multiples, okay. So basically, if you see that your y values are increasing at a consistent rate, then that'll tell you that your x was multiplied by that amount. And that's going to help us especially as we get into those two-step equations. But for right now, this one's pretty simple to see that my equation is that y, my output, equals 9 times x, or my input.